All right, so today we're going to talk about the reason that you're doing all of this planning and work, and that is the ceremony itself. I love wedding ceremonies because they are a live event and anything can happen. But if you know what to anticipate and plan for, we can make it happen without a hitch and make sure that it's incredibly gorgeous. I'm affectionately calling this no more 2 p.m. wedding ceremonies in July. The light is going to be really up high overhead. It's going to be directly in the eyes. You're going to have heavier shadows, and it's just the light isn't that good. So what I recommend is about 4 to 5 hours before sunset. For one, it's going to be a little bit cooler if you're getting married outside in the summer. For two, the light is going to be amazing at that point, or start to get amazing at that point. It's just going to be a little bit lower in the sky, making the shadows a little bit longer and a little bit more dramatic. So if there is any inclement weather, typically what happens on a wedding day is you just push the ceremony back 15, maybe 20, hopefully no longer, but it could be longer than that, minutes, and then the rain will pass, and then we can wipe down the chairs and get on with business as usual, just a few minutes behind. First thing that I wanted to make note of for the wedding ceremony is an actual start time versus the scheduled start time. This is a tip that I picked up from one of the planners a couple years ago. The scheduled start time says ceremonies at 4:30. It's what you send out to everybody in the announcements and invites, but then the actual start time is about 10 minutes after that. And that just lets any stragglers who are still trying to find parking or come settle in to find their seats and get prepared for the ceremony itself. Another thing that I'd like to touch on is the actual length of the ceremony itself. And the reason that this is being brought up is one of the larger trends going on in the industry right now is bringing in your own officiant instead of using a religious leader. Circling right back around to wedding ceremonies being a live event, a lot of your friends who might be conducting the ceremony might not have as much experience running a live show. The ceremony time, the amount of time that the ceremony takes, tends to get shortened pretty drastically. This could be, just because of nerves or because of not including enough extra events, tree plantings, sand ceremonies, lighting candles, those kind of things. So it takes time to successfully tell the story of a wedding day. And I need at least 15 minutes to go around to find all of the parts to put together to tell that story. I get a lot of questions about how to stand and how to plan for the actual physical positioning of the placement. There's a lot of moving parts. We've got people walking up and down the aisle. There's just a lot that kind of goes into the ceremony itself. So if you bring me along to the rehearsal dinner, I am always happy to help walk through and figure out where everybody stands. This happens here, then this happens over here. Kind of what is the stage work. I learned lighting through the stage, through the theater. So, and then also broadcast television actually was my very first lighting class. But when I actually started to study and understand light, it was in the theater on the stage for live production. So I've got a lot of experience in that area. So I can help walk the ceremony through who needs to be where, at what time, what's the best route to get there. Because again, the wedding ceremony is a live event. As far as decorations go for the ceremony itself, the only thing that I really recommend that you take and decorate is just the aisle, or at least the backs of the chairs, because if you're standing at the back of the ceremony location looking forward, you have all of the backs of everybody's heads, but then the backs of the chairs are there, and that's typically white, and our eyes are drawn to the brightest thing in the frame. So if we have 2 rows of white chairs here, just like the backs as we see leading up to you, that's where our eyes are naturally going to go. So why not take and introduce some natural textures into those areas? Talk with your ushers, if you have any ushers, have them crowd the aisles and kind of the front. And then I always talk to the parents as well, so maybe have that conversation with your folks too, but it always looks so much better if the front rows are filled with people instead of just oh, mom, dad, and a sibling or something like that, and then 4 or 5 empty seats. Have them bring aunts and uncles up. It doesn't matter. It's more important to have, people in those seats. Those are the best seats in the house. Don't let them go empty. Make sure that you've got people in there. All right, let's talk about your parents and what they should know for the ceremony. Again, I'm gonna harp on this again. Unplugged, no phones. If your mom or dad is sitting there with a phone in front of their face, you literally will get 1 photo of them during the ceremony, and that is the only one that I will take because it's the same from every angle. They're not paying attention. They might be paying attention, but they're not engaged. They're not experiencing this. They're just stoic, removed, watching a video on YouTube. That's not what we want. We want them there feeling what you are doing. We want them experiencing what is happening. please, 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 please just have an unplugged ceremony. What that means is the guests don't have their phones. We don't have Uncle Bob standing in the corner with an iPad trying to record you walking down the aisle. You've hired a professional for a reason. This is literally that reason. So just have the officiant make an announcement to the rest of the guests. No phones. Keep them in your pocket. It's always easy to spot Uncle Bob when he's standing in the aisle with his phone, but just unplug it and trust the photographer, and the photos that you get from us are going to be 1,000 times better than anything grabbed on a cell phone. So just make your ceremony unplugged.